Welcome back to the Fowler Project, everybody. It has been a minute. Today, we're going to be going over my December TBR, all the books that I will be reading for the first annual 2020 Shelf Space Reindeer Readathon Games. Let's get into it. So, as I said, this month I am going to be participating in the Shelf Space Reindeer Readathon. Now, this is really cool because it is a team-based readathon held on the Shelf Space Discord. So I am the captain for the Kevin McCallister team. Yes, all of our team names are named after characters from Christmas movies. So we are the great star of Home Alone, Kevin McCallister. I've got some great teammates doing this readathon with me. Andrew, Erica, Zara, Joanna, and Rachel. I will have links to all of their stuff in the description box below, so be sure to check their stuff out and support them, because there is no way that I would be able to win this readathon without them on my team. So the way that this readathon works is that there are 12 prompts, and for each prompt you can read a book and you score points based off of the page count in that book. You get, I believe it's 10 points for every 100 pages in the book, as well as 5 points for completing the prompt. Now, like I said, there's 12 prompts. Guys, I'm just being realistic here. There is no way that I'm actually going to get through 12 books in this month. So I went ahead and I only picked out, I've got 8. I got 8 that I think I might be able to get through, especially because some of these books are a little chunky. So getting into it, the first prompt is going to be Christmas Tree. This is read a book set in a forest. So I had a book picked out for this one, and it was Hood by Stephen Lawhead. And Hood is really cool. It's a great retelling of the Robin Hood story, but moved from Sherwood Forest to the forests of Wales shortly after the Normandy invasion. And the reason that the author moved it there is because he did a lot of research into the Robin Hood story and realized that those characters in this story couldn't have actually developed in Sherwood. If you look at the historical times and places around it, he thinks that it's much likely that these characters actually first got their real start in Wales. So that's where he wrote his story. And it's such a good one, and I know that it's really good because I accidentally read it early before the readathon started. The readathon started on December 1st. It was December 28th, right after Thanksgiving. I was off work. I needed something to do. I said I'll just read the first couple pages, see how this story goes. And I finished the book the next day. So I will be reading the sequel, Scarlet, which is going to be centered around the Will Scarlet character in the Robin Hood mythos and how he kind of gets into the gang with this version of Robin Hood and Friar Tuck and Little John that the author has already put together in the first book. So I'm really excited to see how that one goes. The next book that I'm going to be reading is for the prompt Santa's Elves. This is to read a book that features elves or other magical beings. Guys, I'm jumping off the deep end with this one. This is a series that I've been wanting to read for quite some time now. And it is a huge commitment. So a few months ago, I actually got together with a few other friends on the Shelf Space Discord, and we said, all right, December, that's when we're doing this. We will be starting The Wheel of Time with Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is one of the most well-known, beloved, long series in the fantasy community. So I'm really glad to finally be taking that dive and checking out this series. I've actually already started the book at the time of filming. I'm about 150 pages into it, and I am loving it so far. My overall plan for the Wheel of Time moving forward is I want to try to read one book a month. And so, that way I will be finishing the series in early 2022. But at least that way I won't be going straight through and burning myself out on it. So be expecting a lot more Wheel of Time content on this channel as I start working my way through the series. Like I said, I've really enjoyed what I've read so far. This is going to be the first book that I knock out for the readathon. All right, the next prompt is unlikable protagonist. And guys, I actually have a physical copy of the book that I'm going to be reading for this prompt. I am going to finish one of my favorite series that I discovered this year, and that is R.F. Kuang's Poppy War Trilogy conclusion with The Burning God. Now, Rin is an amazing, phenomenal character. She's also a horrible human being. So I'm really, really excited to see how this series ends. Like I said, this is one of my favorite series that I've discovered. R.F. Kuang, I will be reading anything that she comes out with next, regardless of how this book goes, which I have no doubt I will have a fully satisfying ending to this trilogy. But Burning God. That brings us to prompt number 4. Prompt number 4 is Christmas Caroling. It is Read and Own Voices novel. This one is another series that I discovered this year. It is actually only book 2 in that series that recently came out. I meant to read it last month, but got a little sideways in my reading, so I'll be picking it back up again for this one, and that is going to be The Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter. This is the sequel to Rage of Dragons, which is a really great military fantasy story with an African-inspired setting. It follows the main character, Tao, who could also kind of fit into that unlikable protagonist. I actually love him, but he's definitely got some mixed feelings from a lot of other readers. I'm really excited to see how this continues. We left off the first one at a point that was very energizing, and you were ready to see what happened next because you knew that a shitstorm was going to come. So I am so excited to see how this continues. I've already read about the first chapter of this one to right when it first came out, so I will just be restarting and rereading that one to get the full page count for this readathon. But book number 4, Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter. All right, the next book on the list, or next prompt on the list, is a stocking stuffer. That means that it has to be a novella or a collection of short stories. So for this one, I will be reading Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark, and I will also actually be buddy reading this book with my friend Kathleen, who runs a Bookstagram account over at Alluring Lit. So I will leave her link in the description down below. Please go check her out. She's got some amazing content. She reads way more than I do, and is way better at consistency than I am. So please go check her out. She's got a lot of cool stuff going on over there. But Ring Shout is a novella that is set in the, I believe, early 19th century of the United States. And the basic premise of it is that the movie Birth of a Nation, if you haven't heard of this movie, it is a dark spot on the American history. It is a horribly racist movie, but was also kind of a major point in the development of cinematic history. Anyways, when that movie came out, this book kind of sets it as it was actually a curse that went over the lands of America and inspired the Ku Klux Klan, or motivate a lot of the actions of the Ku Klux Klan, which is true. But in the book, the Ku Klux Klan has a lot of like Lovecraftian horror monster elements to it, and we're apparently following a protagonist that is a badass sword-wielding Ku Klux Klan monster slayer. That's my understanding of the book. Haven't read it yet. Sounds pretty badass. I'm really excited to read about this. Peter Shelley Clark, I haven't read any of his stuff before, but he has put out quite a few award-winning novellas in the past. He's also a history professor that studies slavery in cinematography. So, reading his perspectives of this, I'm really excited to see what he has to say, because I think it's going to be a really good story, and I'm also expecting a lot of really interesting subtext underneath it. So definitely looking forward to that one. All right, our next prompt is checking it twice, which is a reread, a DNF, or a book that you took a break from. So I kind of mentioned earlier, my November reading went a little wayward. I got really busy with work and holiday stuff, so I kind of took the month of November off from reading. One of the things that I was reading when that happened was the 4th book in the Greatcoats series, Tyrant's Throne. So I will be returning back to that. I am going to start it over just to try to get the full page count of it. I was 1 or 2 chapters into it, not very far, but really want to pick this one back up. I've loved the Greatcoats series so far. I've heard a lot of great things about this book in particular. Everybody that I have heard seems to be pretty positive and happy with the ending to it. I know Alan over at Library of Alexandria, this is one of his favorite series of all time. He's been hounding me to finish this book, so I'm really excited to get through it, really see how this story comes through, how Falkio, Kess, and Brasti all wrap everything up and hopefully save the world of Tristia once and forever. But being realistic, it's the Greatcoats. I'm sure everything's going to fall apart along the way. And speaking of Alan over at Library of Alexandria, my next prompt is to participate in a shelf space buddy read, and Alan is co-hosting this month's buddy read, Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. This is a book that's been on my list for a few years, actually, and I just haven't gotten around to it, so I'm really excited to have a reason to read it. It is the first book in the Powder Mage trilogy, which is a flintlock fantasy, a genre that I haven't read very much in, meaning that it's less medieval sword and board kind of stuff and more focused on swords and like early muskets, like French Revolution era technology, that kind of stuff. This book has a really cool magic system from my understanding. It involves a little bit of elemental magic controlled by hands, so you got to make sure that you keep your hands, and if you want to stop somebody from using magic, it's a common move to cut their hands off. There's also apparently a portion of the magic that is controlled by snorting gunpowder. So that's really the extent that I know of this book. I'm really excited to find out more about it. It sounds like a phenomenal magic system. And of course, I love talking to Alan about books, so really excited to hear his thoughts as well, especially because he loves reading military fantasy. All right, and the final prompt that I have a book selected for this readathon challenge is Homemade Present. That is to read a self-published novel. And guys, this is really cool. It's a team-based readathon. Like I said, guess what? On my team, I have a self-published author, Andrew. So for this readathon, I will be reading his book, Immortality Awaits by Andrew J. Stillman. Andrew, I'm so excited to read your book. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm kind of going in blind. I have no idea what your book's about, but I'm really excited to read it. And I know a bunch of us over at the Shelf Space community will also be reading it, so that will be really cool as well to kind of, see what your book is all about with everybody. So like I said, there are a few more prompts to this challenge. I will leave a list of all the prompts below if you guys want to do your own read along with us. I know there's a romance prompt, there's We Three Kings, read something with a crown on the cover or in the title. This is already a very ambitious TBR for me. I did a tally of the page count, and if I do get through all of these books, it will be 4,042 pages. Guys, I gotta be honest and realistic for a minute here. On a good reading month, I'm usually somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 pages, so I'm gonna do my best. I'm probably not going to get through all of these, but for the sake of Team Kevin McCallister, I'm going to give it my all. And we will see how we fare against the myriad of other Christmas teams. We've got Buddy the Elf, we've got Frost Miser, we've got Santa Claus, the big man himself. You know, we've got some serious formidable opponents that we got to go up against, but, you know, Team Kevin McCallister, we're going to leave the booby traps all over the house. We're going to get them stuck in some oil and, you know, bash some kitchen pans into their faces, and we'll come out on top of this. All right, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys are reading this month, if any of these books you have read or enjoyed or did not enjoy. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.